This is Suzanne Snyder, and I just had the privilege of being on $2 late fees. Dustin and Zak together are so funny.
Suzanne, this is amazing. Obviously, we've been trying to coordinate with you for, I think, for a little bit.
Yeah.
You're obviously great friends with one of our favorite guests, Jill Sholin. Jill speaks the world of you, and we're obviously huge fans of your work, and so we're excited to have you here.
Thank you. You know, Jill is one of my dearest friends. We've been friends for probably over 30 years.
Wow.
That's amazing. Did you meet in an acting class?
You know, I think we may have met first on an audition. We had the same agent, and we were in acting class together, and we were in a play together. We played sisters, and we did a short film together. And we just seemed to end up in each other's space at very important times in each other's lives also. So yeah, I think all of those things. Sometimes I think we're just kind of connected at the hip.
Well, that's it's not unheard of in Hollywood respects, but it's very special when you have a relationship with somebody for such a long period of time. You've been through trials and tribulations together. And how beautiful is that? I mean, yeah, like Dustin said, Jill is she's a friend of ours now, I think, at this point. And we've done so many fun projects with her in such a short period of time. And to have you on the show, I was saying to Jill, I said, okay, well, we're having Suzanne on, and then let's get the two of you on later in the year to do like a combined thing, because you're not living in Los Angeles, right? You're living back east, correct?
Yeah, I live in Georgia on a lake. We have a home on a lake, but I come into Northern California and SoCal a lot. So yeah, that would be fun to do. We're pretty funny together. At each other and start each other's sentences.
I love that.
Definitely can imagine. Yeah.
How long have you been in Georgia?
We've been in Georgia almost 3 years.
Oh, okay. And were you in LA area before that?
No, I was in Northern California. I raised my family in Northern California.
Oh, what part?
Hillsborough and San Mateo.
My wife is from Foster City. So, and one of her dearest friends lives in San Mateo. And I've lived in the Bay Area as well for a number of years. So.
Oh yeah. I miss it there. My husband and I, or he's not really my husband yet, but I just call him that because we haven't got married. But we lived in Portola Valley for a while, which is kind of closer to Stanford, Palo Alto area.
I know it so well. I mean, Palo Alto was where my early 20s going to Fannie and Alexander's off a university, or the Blue Chalk or Nola's. And there's some really fun places in the Bay Area, and it's got a different vibe to it. So
yeah, it's great. If you go up next time in Palo Alto, there's an amazing restaurant. It's called Ethel's Fancy.
Okay.
Palo Alto, check it out.
What style of food is it?
It's
fancy.
No, it's not. I know exactly, right? It's named after his grandma. And I think he was Hawaiian. And so he kind of combines, it's a fusion restaurant with American food and Asian food. And it's delicious.
That sounds amazing. You said when you dropped in Hawaiian in there too, I'm like, sold, done.
Yeah, it's really good.
But we're not here to talk about the Bay Area. We're here to talk about you, your career. We're obviously big fans of your career overall. And the 80s specifically, because we are an 80s movie podcast. Would you mind taking us all the way back, like how you got your start in the business?
Sure. If you so
we're a 20-hour podcast, so we have plenty of time. No, I'm kidding.
It won't be that fast. I'm not.
You're kidding, Zak? We're not a 20-hour podcast?
Well, we are.
Really? You're a 20-hour podcast. I'm kidding. Come on, man.
So,
Suzanne didn't think you weren't kidding.
We're going to be here a long time. No, yeah. So unlike most actresses, I don't really like to talk about myself very much. So
what? Come on.
I'm not so good at it. But here we go. I started modeling in Chicago, and in high school, one of my best friends was a man named Richard Marx. Have you heard of Richard? He was a singer and a songwriter.
Zach,
And
pick up your album, Zach. Show your album. That's right there. You're signed Richard Marx.
Should have known
EP.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
love Richard Marx.
Yeah, Richard and I went to high school together, and we were friends.
Oh, cool.
He had an art project, and he took pictures of me, and then he said, you got to go downtown and start modeling. And so I started just working that way first, and then I ended up with in an agency. They were really good, because our little call sheet that they just started out. They had John Malkovich, Lolita Davidovich, Glenn
Wow.
Hadley. I mean, you name it. Everybody was on, and I just somehow got on it. And so my first acting job was in a movie called Class with Rob Lowe and Jacqueline Bisset and John Cusack and Jeremy and all those guys. And Lolita and I were friends. So that was my very first acting job. I was at Northwestern, and I was studying to be a doctor.
Oh,
My mother did not like this very much. And it was
why?
exhausting.
She didn't like you being a doctor?
Yeah.
Because I just was kind of like fed up with studying. And so I stopped doing that, and I moved towards acting. And then I ended up in LA. And then I was with Jill in acting class with Jean Bua. And I started doing commercials, and I did a Chips where I said I could roller skate, and I could. And then they put me in this place with all of these video games, but it was like this bumpy brick thing. I looked like I was on drugs. It was ridiculous. I had to like skate from one machine to the next. So I did that. And then I just, I was very fortunate. I started working, and Richard was out there too, and we were friends. So we used to hang out. We went and saw Pavarotti together once.
Wow.
He was always just my really good friend, though.
You're saying nothing more. Nothing more happened.
Nothing more
The
happened.
tabloids want to know.
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt you and ask you, what was Richard's hair like in high school?
Good question.
Back then there weren't all these special fancy things to do with your hair, right? So he kind of had like a little afro going.
Okay. There was no mullet, no.
No, there was no mullet then.
Okay.
We lived in like the conservative, like northern side of Chicago. It was pretty. He wore Lee jeans and button-down shirts, plaid shirts a lot and stuff like that. His mom and his dad was not talking about me, but his dad was a really famous jingle singer.
Yeah.
And his mom was the singer. Like, she was the Quasar lady. And Richard, I think, was the Yum Yum Bumblebee Tuna Boy. So he started singing when he was really young. So just fun.
I hope we can get some footage of that. Unless he doesn't make that public.
Richard, I'm telling all of this. Yeah.
How is that the bad thing? That's not a bad thing.
I mean,
it's a great thing, right? You had all your money for college before you were 9.
Ka-ching.
Oh, man. And if you're not comfortable talking about yourself, talking about Richard Marx's jingle stories is certainly
it's okay. It's the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, right?
It's certainly amazing.
You mentioned Lee jeans, and I remember wanting Lee jeans so bad when I was a kid, because they had the leather logo on the back that you could put your belt through. If you wanted to show off how cool they were, you put it through the leather to expose that. And then I think at this point I got Lee jeans too late, like they were out of fashion, or wherever I got terrorized as a kid, like bullied beyond belief. And I remember wearing Lee jeans and thinking I was so cool, and people were like, "What are you wearing those for? This isn't the 70s." And I'm like, well, they're still cool to me. So
have they ever gone out of fashion? Yeah,
I don't think so anymore, but Levi's were really in.
They were in when 501 jeans came out. That was like, if you didn't have 501 jeans, you weren't cool.
It's true. It's very true. and the button flies. The button fly was even cooler. Okay, so so I moved to LA, and I just I was very fortunate. I got with an agent, and I started working and doing episodics and doing commercials. Jill and I did I think it was a Kinney shoe commercial together.
Oh, my Kinney shoes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Right? And I did a big close-up commercial with my roommate, Jeffrey Roger, who was he worked a lot as an actor too. And just a lot of different commercials and stuff like that, and episodics. And then I started getting movies also, leads in movies.
So, and obviously, just to back up for a second, you said that your mom wasn't happy about something, but we weren't sure if it was that she was unhappy that you were being a doctor, or that
that I stopped.
That you stopped being a doctor. Okay.
And I moved out to LA to act. She was
Okay.
not pleased with me.
Okay. Okay. So there was,
I also moved away from her, right? So it was both.
Right. Of course. So there was not a lot of parental support as far as the acting career from the start and the modeling.
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
That wasn't what my mom wanted me to do at all. I mean, she came with me when I was in Chicago on almost every shoot. But she didn't want me to move away. I was her only girl, and she just wanted me to have a more stable lifestyle, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, that's also a generational thing, isn't it? I think at least speaking for myself, I remember it was all about like, where are you going to college? What's your major? Well, first of all, going through high school, well, how many classes? What's your GPA? And then I think there's a shift now going, hopefully. I know as myself as a parent, it's more about like, who are you as a person? And are you making, good choices for the betterment of yourself and the world around you versus like, what is your career path? Where are you going? Right.
Yeah, but parents still want stability, right? You still want stability for your kids.
True. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the big buzzword for me right now with my kids and in our family is integrity. And
totally
I think
same.
integrity, is it's such a powerful word because it's integrity just within yourself.
Right.
And if you have integrity in yourself, so you're doing good even when no one is looking, right?
Right.
That's what you really want. I think I want for my kids and myself and people I love, because then you're full.
Yeah.
And then
totally.
and then I think, according to all the masters, the wise ones, then you are actually really helping everyone in the whole world, right? Because your energy is lifting up.
You triggered a memory in me. About 3 years ago, I ran a Greek mythology summer camp here in Los Angeles.
Oh, how cool.
It was cool.
I think it was 2 years ago.
It was, yeah. Right? I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It feels like forever because it was, the pandemic had spiked back up at that point. And it was totally immersive, week-long, 5 weeks of this camp. And you would do a quest every week to go on an adventure, right? And it followed a similar path of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. I made it more about that. It was, at the time, it was more about learning Greek mythology and getting to sword play and battle with your friends. I made it more about being the best version of who you are inside, right? And this kid had a t-shirt on from Hamilton and it said integrity on it. And every day I started the group in a circle, and we would call like an intention, make an intention for the day with a certain word. And that word, integrity, really triggered the rest of the 5 weeks that I had with these kids. And it's just a very powerful word and sentiment and intention. Yeah, so I think that's great that you're instilling that in your own kids.
I mean, you do your best. It's their choice in the end, unfortunately.
Right.
But my kids would have gone to your Greek mythology class. My kids dig mythology, and I do too. I love it.
So do I. I mean, my son was obsessed with it. He thought for many years I'm Poseidon, and And then he saw me swim and he's like, "You're not Poseidon.
Hmm.
You're Hephaestus." No, I'm kidding. You're Dionysus, Dad. You're always drinking wine. No, I'm kidding.
None of us understand what those jokes mean anyway, so it's
No,
fine.
yes, you
You're
do. How
Hephaestus. I'm
dare you.
kidding. You're
I did.
Hermione's. I'm kidding.
Dionysus. You could say Bacchus.
I'm Hades. I'm kidding.
There.
It doesn't look like it from where I'm sitting, how you are. You've got like this white light coming up out of your hat, Dustin.
She does.
Light
Yeah,
behind you.
there is a light. There is a light
Yeah.
illuminating Richard Tyson for some reason right now. But yes, but just so obviously, so our audience primarily, I think, you know, and speaking for myself, I think my first association with your work was Weird Science. John Hughes, obviously, you know, John Hughes really created this whole world around the Chicago area. But did you connect with, did you get cast in that movie after you had moved to LA?
So yeah, so I was cast after I moved to LA. Actually, where he lived was in Northfield, but I went in to read for John for Breakfast Club. And I read for him, and he told me he really liked my reading, but that pretty much offers had already gone out to stars. But that he was working on another film and that I would be perfect for it. And he wanted to bring, and he'd like to bring me back. So, you know, it was kind of bittersweet, right? Oh, you gave a great audition, but you're not going to get this job. And I'm going to bring you back. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Right,
Oh,
right.
Right.
Of
you're gonna
course.
be back. Well, he did. He brought me back. He brought me back with Kelly Preston. And I read for him, and I got the part. And during the summer before we shot, I had my wisdom teeth pulled and my face got really thin and I
Oh
lost all.
no.
And Judy went off to Europe and had fun. And so when we got back, I was supposed to be with Alon and she was supposed to be with Michael, and it didn't work. So they flopped us. And I ended up being with Michael and she ended up being with Judy. And the original girl that they made was Kelly Emberg. And Kelly, it just didn't work out. I got to meet Rod Stewart though. And so Rod Stewart, because she was dating him at the time, Rod Stewart flew in and picked Kelly up. And we were kind of without someone for a while. And they asked me if I wanted to be the girl. And see, this is where it gets, I'm really shy.
Oh, wait, asked to if you'd be Lisa?
Yeah. And I said no. I was too shy.
Wow.
I didn't want to do it. So that was probably, I would say that was probably one of the more stupid things I've ever done in my life. But, you know, we were in Chicago, which is where I grew up, right? So, you know, everybody was there, and yeah. So at any rate, I said no to that, but Kelly was great in it. And the thing that was really cool about shooting Weird Science was we shot at the mall where I used to hang out. We were at Northbrook Court. That's where I used to go shopping with all my girlfriends.
Awesome.
And my mom and my grandpa came and watched, which was really cool. And where the rocket goes up through the house,
Yeah.
that was at my friend John Mullner's house. John Mullner, who's now married to Katie Couric.
Oh.
Which is
Connections.
But you know, I walked up to the house and I was like, gosh, that house looks really familiar. And Mr. Mullner was out front. He was like, Sue? I was like, Mr. Mullner? And so we shot in the Mullner's house, which was kind of fun. And yeah, it was nice shooting back home.
That's wild. And what a first movie to be like, well, it wasn't your first film you did, but obviously the first big role you had in a film, right? With so many people.
I had bigger roles, but not in such big films, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So, but yes, it was very cool and super fun. And, you know, we're all still pretty close. I mean, Bill and I remained friends for a long time.
Bill Paxton, of course, right?
Yeah, Bill Paxton, excuse me. And Robert Russler and Downey and I were close for a long time because Robert Downey used to date Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yep.
And we all used to hang out together. And Judy and I are still really good friends, and Alana and I still talk, and I love Michael Berryman. And oh my gosh, how did I blank on him right now?
Anthony Michael Hall.
Well, Michael and I are still friends. Michael just had a baby.
Oh, nice.
He's had a baby, he and his wife.
Does he go by Michael?
I call him Michael.
Oh, okay.
I've always called him Michael, but some people call him Mike. So it was a great experience. And even Joel Silver and I stayed really good friends. And the guards knew me so well that I used to be able to, because I was there for so long, because we shot for a long time on Universal, I could go and take my friends and my family when they first arrived, go in and go through the Universal Studios tour in my car.
Oh, nice.
It was super fun.
Amazing.
That was the good old days. I remember going to Universal Studios when I was a kid and seeing Tom Atkins, a very well-known genre actor, and he was on the tour. He must have been nearby at a bungalow or something. And we're going through that tunnel, that they use for $6 Million Man that spins around. And he's like, "Don't go in, don't go in." And my brother and I are like, "Is that Tom Atkins from Halloween 3?"
Right.
And he was just there hanging out one day, and it was just so cool to see, like, at the time, see an actor,
in their
hamming it up, I
natural
guess.
habitat.
Right. So
he's a super nice guy, by the way. A lot of times when we do conventions together, we'll have breakfast together and just catch up and talk. What a fascinating man. Just to hear his stories, you can just sit there and listen. Just like Ted White. Ted White's passed now, but oh my gosh, his stories were super cool.
Fascinating. Yeah. And I'm curious too, because, John Hughes, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I don't know if there's a documentary out about John Hughes, but there should be, about his overall career as a filmmaker, because he created a very specific genre. And I think most people who are unfamiliar, or like kind of get introduced to the 80s, immediately see at least one of his films to say, this is what the 80s are all about. Can you talk a little bit about his kind of approach to filmmaking?
Oh, so John was, he was a great listener. He really looked you in the eyes. He really listened. He watched a lot. He was definitely a student of life, right? And he really got that age group that he wrote about. He also did Planes, Trains, Automobiles, and they were awesome in that, right? So he had a great breadth of talent and ability to write about. But he brought us in, and we rehearsed for almost 2 weeks together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we kind of watched, which was really rare, and now, I mean, it's unheard of, right?
Right.
And they paid us. We got together in the bungalow, and he would listen to music, and we would bring in music. Everybody would bring in different music that we liked, and there would be dancing and talking. And a lot of the lines, for example, that Bill did, were his. He just really loved the direction that Bill Paxton was going with Chet, and just kind of let him go.
Wow, cool.
Which was really cool. And of course, with Michael too, Michael did a lot of improv, and you kind of had to just like be present with Michael and go with it and not lose your shit on camera, right? Because it was so funny. And so John knew what he wanted. He was great at directing it and guiding you to the direction he wanted you in. He gave you the right kind of structure, and then you kind of just went. One of the scenes that we did where the grandparents are in the blue kitchen.
Catatonic? Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
The grandmother could not stop wiggling her eyes and shaking her face. And we just at one point, we just were laughing so hard because she just couldn't stay still long enough so we get the shot. It was so funny. But he was really kind, and he made you feel safe, and he wasn't aggressive or angry about what she was doing. He was just trying to do something to calm her down so we could get the shot off.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It seems there is a documentary, by the way, Zach, a John Hughes documentary called
cool.
"Don't You Forget About Me," which I have not seen, but it was like, I was trying to look up when it was 2009.
Okay.
So
great.
No idea if it's does any justice to the experience at all, but
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that there was something done, because I think one of the last times I saw Michael spoke about it. And I don't remember if he thought it was good or not. I'm starting to think maybe it wasn't, like he would like another one done.
right. I mean, the fact that Zach doesn't own it or know about it probably means it wasn't that good.
I tend to own a lot of physical media, so yeah, and of course, Weird Science is definitely one of them. So, but also too, like thinking about the fact that you said that he looked at you and he listened to you. That's it should be a normal thing, but of course, in this industry, it's really not.
Yeah, he was very kind. He was just very, very kind. And, we were all so young. He was kind of like, just like a dad on set almost, but also like your buddy, right? Because he's very playful and very youthful and a lot of very fun. I mean, we'd all go out together. We'd go out in these limos, and he'd take us to White Castle, and we'd go to the blues bars.
White Castle.
Yeah.
The square burgers, right?
The square burgers.
I want to know what music you brought to the bungalow to play.
Gosh, we were really, back then, I mean, Prince's Purple Rain was about to come out. We got to see it before it came out. That was pretty cool.
Yes, you
Wow,
did.
cool.
But, we were really into, Prince, and I love the Rolling Stones. I can't, I've just always loved the Stones. I love the Dead too, but I love the Stones.
What's your favorite Stone song?
Oh gosh.
If you had to pick one.
Wild Horses, maybe.
Same. Yeah.
I love Wild Horses.
You've heard the Sundays version of that, right? The melodic one from the 90s, the Sundays.
I don't know.
It was in all the commercials. I think they put it in a Budweiser commercial or something. And I was like,
they did.
Really?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You should check. Yeah, I think you really would love it.
But I mean, I like Bruce Springsteen a lot. I loved Bruce, and one of Bruce Springsteen's buddies, one of his band members grew up with Joel Silver, who was our executive producer. So they came to the set.
Oh, cool.
So we got to meet all of them. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. So Bruce Springsteen, Prince, Rolling Stones,
The diverse palette of music there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I saw that movie in the theater. My mom took me to a lot of movies when I was a kid. In fact, a lot of movies that to this day, I think, I can't believe you took me to that, but I feel like back in the 80s, parents didn't have a choice. If they couldn't get a sitter and they really wanted to see a movie, they would take their kids. But I think I chose that one. Was your experience in Return of the Living Dead Part 2 a positive one?
For me, it was. By the way, my mom took me to the movies too every Friday night. And she took my brother and I, when we were in grade school, to Blazing Saddles, and was just so upset.
Yeah.
Why?
Whoops.
Oh no, she thought, and she was right. But so for me, I had a blast shooting Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I really thought that Brenda wasn't a blonde and that she was more of a Spitfire. So I dyed my hair red, which was kind of fun as a girl to do all that. And Tom Matthews was one of my best friends. And
he's great.
He and his wife are still, like, when I go to LA, I see them, or if we're in the same town, we go out to dinner together. He's been to my house here because he was in Georgia for something. So I had the privilege of getting to work most of my scenes with Jimmy, Karen, and Tommy. I call him Tiger.
Hmm.
So I just remember coming home with my face hurting because we laughed so hard shooting
That's
that.
great.
Jimmy he's just so funny and so entertaining. So the three of us had a blast together. Now, I know that there's a lot of controversy because the first one and the second one were so different.
Yeah.
But I thought what Ken did was really creative and kind of fun. I thought it was I really enjoyed watching on the set all the zombies coming out of the graveyard
Right.
and doing their dance and everything.
Right.
I just thought it was really fun and I enjoyed it. Working
Well,
nights, not my favorite, but other than
well,
that, it's good.
I will tell you, Ken Wiederhorn directed Shockwaves, which I think is a very underrated Nazi zombie horror film with the late Peter Cushing and Brooke Adams, I believe. And that was my first foray into him as a filmmaker. And then when I saw that I was reading Fangoria when I was like 8 or 9,
Oh,
and saw the Return of. I have an older brother. I think that's probably why. And saw the Return of Living Dead Part 2 is coming out, and I loved it too. I thought it was fun. I thought it was, you're obviously one of the highlights to that movie, running around screaming, but you weren't screaming to the point where it was so comical, and it was such a nice departure from like nightmare fueling horror films. This was in a way a more kid-friendly horror film.
yeah. I think actually most of the horror films I'm in are more campy and more kid-friendly than like, Saw or something like that. I don't
Thank
even
you.
know if I could have
Absolutely.
done those movies. I'm not putting them down. I'm not I I flew home from LA this time that I was supposed to do the convention with you, and I was watching Invictus. It's a
Yeah.
new I was at the window seat and there was a woman sitting next to me and she fell asleep and I screamed out loud during the movie. I did it
Amazing.
twice. I jumped and she was like, they were really nice. And the husband thought it was hysterical that I woke her up screaming, wanted to know the name of the movie. But I look at chicken, so I don't think I could have ever done those movies. That's why I'm telling this story. But I did really love, learning all the special effects and everything. And like I said, working with Jimmy Karen, it was just awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
he and Tom obviously, or Tiger,
Right.
reprise the roles from the first. Well, they're not reprising their roles. They're playing two different characters, but it's
Right.
very similar. Obviously, they have and I actually love that. I love that it's a new, it's like the same energy, but they're two new characters and they're so funny. It's like Abbott and Costello kind of vibe. Um,
It
and
is.
be a part of that must have been a lot of fun.
It was super fun. They have the same birthday
Yes, yes.
and or
You
Thom,
did know
right?
that, Zach?
No, I did know that because back when we first started $2 late fee and we were promoting stuff on Instagram, I was doing birthday collages for a lot of people that we are fans of. And I put these birthday collages are ridiculous. I put way too much time into something that the payoff is very minimal. But I would put in images of like all the movies that these actors were in, including you. And because we're just such big fans of everybody's work. And I remember going, whoa, wait, this is so cool. They both have the same birthday.
Yeah, yeah. And they celebrated it together for a long time. They were really good friends. Yeah. You know who else was really sweet was Dana. Dana was super fun to work
Dana
with.
Ashbrook, right? Yeah.
Marsha. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Dana Ashbrook and Marsha Dietland. Um, yeah, it was really fun. They were very, very nice people. And Kenny, the guy who was like the head zombie who did all
Yeah.
the monster movements. Oh my gosh, he's so talented.
How
So
about how
talented.
about Ken Wiederhorn as a director was was that good?
For me, it was
I
fine
love how
because
you're saying for me, this is great.
because I didn't have that whole attachment to Return of the Living Dead Part 1, we'll
Okay.
call it.
Yeah.
So I was okay with whatever he told me to do. I know that he had some issues with other people, but not with me.
It's a very nice way to put it. Did you actively seek out, you said you played more in the horror films or that you have been in, they're more campy, so to speak, more lighter hearted. Was that an intention, or was it just, did it just happen to be that way?
It just ended up happening to be that way. I love doing comedy. I really love it. It's so much fun. So maybe that was why I just love it. But I'm happy that's what I ended up doing.
Certainly, Killer Klowns from Outer Space is still known with many people. They have had a video game that just came out this year, in fact, and it's still very present in the pop culture landscape. And that is super, walks that line of comedy and horror.
Yeah, so the video game hasn't come out yet, actually.
Oh, it hasn't come out yet. Okay.
It was supposed to come out, but it hasn't.
All the 1,000 trailers, and I'm a gamer, so I'm a little ashamed that I don't know that. But I was like, where'd it go?
No, I'm sorry, but it hasn't
No.
come out. And I think a new company is now kind of adding things to it and
Oh, cool.
fixing it up a little bit. And
You're involved in it.
Grant and I may be involved in it.
Okay. Awesome. You should be, obviously.
We'll know more. Check back with me in February.
Another door.
There's a few things that we can't talk about yet that we hope to talk to you about at a later date. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So there are actually two projects that Grant and I are kind of affiliated with that might happen. One with Jill, also maybe Jill and I in one.
Right.
And actually two with Jill, now that I think about it. Yeah. So but Killer Klowns, I had just finished doing Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I did a pilot with Buddy Epson, which was very cool. And I went in to read for, I didn't really want to read for Killer Klowns from Outer Space. I mean, you
why? The title alone spells, it makes it's gold, right?
Now when here, I know, right? Who'd have thought? But when you're an actor, you kind of get into this like serious mode.
Of course.
I need to go do off Broadway in New York and stuff like that, right? And Killer Klowns from Outer Space, I was just like, ugh.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But my agent, Sarah Shadeen, I have to give her credit, say her name. And she was like, you have to read the script and you have to go in and read for it. These guys, the Kyoto brothers, are going to be huge. They just had done Large Marge in Pee-wee's circus. And she just said, you have to go in. I'm forcing you to go in and read for it. And I went in, and Grant and John and I ended up getting the part, and they didn't want my hair to look like Return of the Living Dead, so they made me get a perm so I'd look a little different. They made Grant dye his hair dark because Grant was blonde, because John was blonde.
John was in a movie called Hunk, I believe. And
he was.
Yeah. I still have that license plate somewhere. There was a promo item they gave out and said Hunk. It's so ridiculous.
Very nice man. Very, very nice man. Yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So Sarah Shadeen called it, and I, for the longest time, just if people ask me what I was in, that wouldn't be the one I would say I was in. Just because you say it and people are like, wow, you were really desperate. You really needed to work to do that movie. And I mean, who'd have known, right? It was super fun to do. We shot it in Santa Cruz. I made great friends with a lot of people. I learned a lot about special effects.
Right.
I was there for like almost 2 months in Santa Cruz.
That's where the Kyoto brothers are from, right? Aren't the Kyoto brothers are from Santa Cruz, aren't they? Or the Bay Area?
No, they're from the East. They're from the East. Yeah.
But you did shoot it in Santa Cruz.
East?
No. They were nominated for, I believe they were nominated for an Academy Award for Marcel the Shell.
So Steve Kyoto, maybe all of them were. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. And Steve got it. That's a great movie. Have you seen it?
So Dustin knows this because I say it almost every single interview. I make notes for my son. I've been doing it since he started preschool, and I'm up to over 1,000 notes at this point, lunch notes, and they're very detailed, like very detailed. And Marcel has been a part of his notes pretty much since day one. Like, and I made a little Marcel. It was a running joke with my wife and I, you know, we always write when we give each other cards. Marcel is always popping up somewhere in the card, and yeah, Marcel we have a very warm place in our heart for Marcel the Shell.
I love that, and I love the movie. And my mom used to write me notes every day on my lunch bag. Every day,
Wow.
Brothers and I.
When did that stop? Did it stop at note 700,000, or because that's where Zach is right now, and we're just that's amazing. That's amazing.
When I went
Zach's
to college, when I went to college, it stopped.
it stopped at college, all throughout high school.
All through high school, she did it.
But it was just like a have a great day, or was it an
No,
epic drawing? Let's hear it.
She would draw on my paper bag.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I always kept a paper bag, right?
Oh my
And
God, I love it.
everybody wanted to see what my bag was like, right? It became
Yeah.
So she would
Totally.
write my name, and she would either draw or write something about, something that's going on in the world, or, something that we'd done or we're going to go do.
Yep.
And, as a kid, I just threw out my lunch bag. I didn't save them. Now I wish I had them, right? Because they'd be priceless for me.
100%.
Yeah, my kids didn't want lunch bags because nobody uses lunch bags anymore. And you can't keep your food cold.
Right, exactly.
Right. And you have so many kids, it would have been a lot of notes.
So I write them notes when they go on trips, and I hide
that.
them in their shoes and their pockets. And yeah, that's what I do.
Zach is crying right now. Let's just take a minute. Zach, wipe
I
away the
am.
tears. It's okay.
I'm not
We're
crying
all open
inside.
to this. Yes. No, Suzanne, I love that. I love that your mom did that. And obviously, I like to poke at Zach because he's been writing notes since Bodhi came out of the womb, basically. And
that's true.
But no, you're almost at 1,200 notes every day. Zach has never missed a note. These are epic notes to his son, drawings incorporating characters from the 80s. I'm sure you've been in some notes. I'm sure of it, right?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't done. No, not
I don't
yet.
do girls. No girls in my notes.
No, I do.
Just
I
dudes.
do.
Anyway, the point is, you're going to be in tomorrow's note or February's note when we launch.
I haven't done any clowns yet. I have done zombies, but
no clowns.
No clowns yet.
No killer clowns.
He's kind of freaked out by clowns.
No killer clowns. But it's truly epic. It's truly amazing. And the fact that maybe Zach and your mom have some psychic connection.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I your mom's intention maybe was similar to mine. Mine was because, you always want to do what either you had a strong influence to make you want to do it that way, pass it on. I had someone that did it for me and I want to do it for someone else. I didn't, but I always had kind of wanted that. My mom was very loving to me, still is, obviously, but I always wanted to give, and remind my son how much he's loved and every day. And then put some like words of wisdom in there. If he gets it, great. If not, at least it's on a paper and he can look back on it 20 years from now, so I think we all need that.
I do that too. I'll write different quotes from different people that I think are wise.
Oh, that's cool.
I still send them texts now.
As you should.
I love polar bears. I love polar bears. I've always loved polar bears. So
why? What is it about polar bears that you love?
I don't know. I've just always loved them. And so I send them pictures of mama polar bears with baby polar bears with mama polar bear protecting the baby polar bear. Not that my 30-year-old son needs that, but I still do it.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there to everyone listening going, oh, I would never do that. you never know. It showing that love to somebody really means a lot.
I mean, and if you're saying I would never send a note to my child, then you're a very heartless
Yeah, what's
person.
wrong with
So
you?
I don't know.
Turn this off now.
I
But
don't know who's saying that.
I was well, no, I'm in the sense of like a 30-year-old man getting a text from his mom saying "I love you" or a polar bear. It's like, how sweet is that? I think that's
No,
I think that's wonderful.
yeah, I don't think it, but again, same idea. Anyone who's going, oh, I wouldn't do that.
They don't have love in their life.
That's
Love
yeah,
in their heart.
they have some issues.
Well,
Right.
maybe they show love differently. They just show love differently, maybe because I send them all sorts of things all the time, and my eldest son definitely really loves it, and so that's what I do.
I
But
love that you do that. I love that your mom did that. Your mom, we should compare notes. We should compare
Well,
notes.
she threw them away, so that's the problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just they were my lunch bag. I just chucked them.
Oh
Really unfortunate.
Yeah, but it does make sense, and obviously the memory is very potent. It's not like
Yes.
like when you're a kid, you're not. Of course, you're going to throw your lunch bag out. You're not going to carry it around and
No, because it gets wet.
and we don't think of things in those terms.
True. I want to roll back to Killer Klowns really quick though, and there was a live concert and screening here in Los Angeles a few years back with the composer John Massari and the Dickies, I believe, the punk band. They came. Were you a part of that experience?
I was. That was really exceptional. So we rehearsed a little bit, and then when I arrived, my son came also, and some friends of mine came. Judy Aronson came actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
To that. But outside they had the clown footprints on was it Cahuenga Boulevard, I think, on Cahuenga, or maybe I think it was Cahuenga. Cahuenga, and there were clowns outside, and they were shooting popcorn guns. I mean, it was just mind-blowing. And Grant and I had a little scene, and I was really nervous, and I kept saying, Grant, rehearse with me, Grant, practice. I was like, come on, we got this, it's gonna be fun. I was like, I don't want to go up on my lines. And so we got there, and Grant went up on his lines. And I was like, and so I was able to kind of, because I knew everything so well. But we had like 3 or 4 lines that we did, and then we were up there, and they did like an interview with all of us on stage, the Kyotos, and Grant and I and Peter, who is still alive then, Peter Lucchese, and we did that, and a man asked a woman to marry him in the theater during that.
Oh.
And then we went back and we sat, and then John put on this amazing show, and the Dickies were phenomenal, and the orchestra was amazing also. It was really fun.
It's a really cool experience.
Really cool. Were you there?
I was not. I remember, I believe it sold out. So that was why I wasn't there.
It's
obviously.
Inexcusable, Zach. It's inexcusable. That's never stopped you before. And also, you were late buying the tickets. That's really bad.
I was, and Dustin,
it's really bad.
Peter Hackman is good for. We have a manager, a composer, a manager. Sorry, a friend of ours who manages music composers and has a label, Note for Note Music, that puts out soundtracks on CD and vinyl. Peter Hackman, and he's good friends with John Massari. And he's like, you didn't go to that show? Why didn't you go to that show? And I'm like, it's sold out. He goes, that's not an excuse. They should have.
I honestly, I think John didn't, I don't think they realized how successful it would be.
No.
Because I think they could, if they publicized it early enough, I bet they could do Friday, Saturday, Sunday matinee.
I totally agree.
Sell it out.
It's a pretty remarkable, and obviously we want to get to our questions from our fans too in a moment, but it's pretty remarkable that Killer Klowns from Outer Space, there's, of all the movies that has such a strong following, that this movie has there's toys, there's costumes, there's all these things. I think that's really rad. I think that's amazing. I think it's so great. It shows that you don't have to have, like, you can have a wacky premise and have it be something that it's never going to be forgotten. It's only getting more popular as time goes on.
Yeah, it's a really unusual phenomenon that's going on with Killer Klowns from Outer Space. I think it has a really faithful fan base, and the people who first watched it shared it with their friends and family and their kids, and now their kids are sharing it with their kids. And so you meet these people, these families who, watch it every Thanksgiving, and
Right.
watch it all the time. And so they've come to buy another DVD or CD or record or whatever, or VHS, so that they can watch it, because they've literally worn it out.
Right.
It's crazy. I met this one man, there's so many amazing stories about it, but this one man and his son walked up to me and they started to cry, and they took my hand. I was like, ooh. Because you're at these conventions. And he said,
Yeah.
your movie saved my son's life. And I was like, I don't know about that. But he said, my son had cancer and we thought we were going to lose him. And we watched that movie and laughed and laughed and laughed. And my son is cancer free.
Wow.
I mean, and the boy was there. So
that's really special.
Yeah, you do these movies, and you do it because you want to work. You're an actor, you're an artist, you want to be on set, you want to be with all these actors and creatives. And I don't think when you're young, you don't realize the impact that these movies or your performance or performances ensemble can be for other people. That I think has been the biggest thing for me, that whole families watch it and they have such fond memories of it. Kiss watches it before every concert. It's just kind of all over the place, right?
That's fascinating. I did
Gene
not know
Simmons. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So it's
Paul Stanley. Can you put on Killer Klowns from Outer Space? I love that movie.
Who'd have thought, right? So it's I think partly because it's practical effects that make it more
totally
accessible to everyone. And I think a lot of the kids that are coming up to me, they don't really like all these CGI and all these different things that people are doing. They feel more connected to the practical effects, and the kiddos are so good at that. I mean, they're just masters of it. And I think that had something to do with it. And I think the colors are really disarming. So it's not like horror movie colors.
Yeah.
That's a really good observation. Really good point.
So they mixed all these really fun, joyful things with the scary part. And
to me, it feels like a Warner Brothers cartoon where Marvin the Martian coming down and, I will shoot you or whatever. It's that kind of vibe to it, where there's some threat there, obviously, but it's also very silly too.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very blessed too. I felt blessed when I got it. I loved working with everyone, and I'm really grateful that it's had such legs. It's really great for everyone, and it's so fun to meet all the fans and to travel with all of these my posse of guys, right? Because I'm the only girl,
right?
So I hang out with these guys, and they're all fascinating, wonderful men, and it's really fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It is.
We have questions from fans. It's called $2 6 questions. And you brought up a couple movies that some of our fans of the show, our listeners, have.
Well, hang on a minute. This is an important distinction we need to make, or important acknowledgement. So it's season 5 now, and $2 6 questions used to be its own separate thing. It is now rolled in. So this is the first time where you're getting the interview, the $2 6 questions all together. And if you guys listening would like to ask questions, just pay attention. Follow us on social media, Facebook. No, follow us on Instagram. Don't follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. And comment, and we can ask your questions can be featured on this segment. I wanted to say that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So the first one is from Chris Mayek. Chris Mayek is a friend of ours, friend of the show. He's got a great YouTube channel as well. He wants to know about the movie Class. What do you remember about making the movie Class?
Oh, yeah. So it was really my first acting job. I was still in school at the time. And it was really exciting because Lolita Davidovich and I were friends. We modeled together a lot. And we shot it in my hometown in Chicago. And I remember Rob being very, very sweet and very charming. Rob Lowe, to say those last names, right?
No, it's all good. Yeah.
Right. And I had so much fun with John Cusack. We just laughed and laughed and laughed. He and Jeremy studied with Byrne Piven in Chicago. Same with Joan. They all studied with Byrne Piven. And so they were really much more seasoned actors, I would say, than I was at the time. And I just had so much fun laughing with those guys. Once again, laughter, right?
Yeah.
I remember being kind of in awe because we walk into the bedroom with Jacqueline Bisset, who is just beyond beautiful and gorgeous, and so classy and all of that. And and then we all went out for dinner and hung out afterwards. And I thought that was really cool that I got to hang out with a movie star. If you want to know the truth.
Totally. Come on.
Yeah.
That's the best. Sometimes that's the best thing. You're a fan of the films you make. You're a fan of the people you're with. It's how special is that? It's great.
Yeah. Rob Lowe was much more available and really wanted to hang out and play and not, go out to dinner and stuff like that with Lolita and John and all of us. And Andrew McCarthy was a little bit more off to himself because that's kind of the way he acts, right? Also,
yeah, right.
More of a method actor. So he was separated anyway. So he wanted to maintain that. So that was also, I thought, really interesting.
Yeah.
It's just starting to be on a set to see the different ways that people, create their character, or some live in them the whole time that they're shooting a movie, and others are on the set, they're that, and off the set, they're who they are.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I think it's probably more fun to be, to have that separation when making a movie, unless it's like a really dark movie in which you need to have that, villain or darkness or, at all times. But really, I don't know. I would think it would be much more fun to have that like, oh, good. Now we're acting and we're having fun on the set, but now we're offset and we can also have fun as human beings.
I totally agree with you. I talked to Jill about this a lot, actually, because I don't feel that our generation of acting coaches actually taught us how to get into it. They didn't teach us how to let it go and get out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we've seen a lot of, people dying.
Right.
Because they don't know how to get out of the characters.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my own personal opinion. I could be totally right.
No, that's what you're sharing, your own personal opinion. It's great. That's what you should be doing,
No, but that's your experience. And you do see
Totally.
that. I mean, it's not like you're just saying that wildly. It's like,
right.
You do see that people cannot detach from, if they're having, if they're playing a character that is having a traumatic experience or is just infused with so much darkness, you do need to decompress that in some way. You have to. It's a psychological thing. It has to happen in a safe way. It has to. So, if you're in a Holocaust movie and you're just murdering people, yes, like you can't just be like, all right, let's go get coffee and be cool.
Right.
Yeah, you have to get out of it. That's my own personal opinion. I think that trauma stays in people far too long. But
Yeah.
Totally.
So Rob and Andy were different in that way, right? Because of how they studied, I would say probably who their teachers were. Andrew at that point was from New York, I think, also, right? So LA, New York, Malibu, New York, it's totally different way
It
of
is.
the world even. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, even
And
the relationship with books and writing, because we know that Andrew McCarthy is like he's a prolific writer.
right. So this was like his character also in the movie, right? And so John Cusack and Jeremy and I stayed friends after that, and Lolita and I did for a while too. So Lolita and I were already friends, but John and Jeremy and we hung out and we had a lot of fun together in LA.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Next question is from Dylan Laurie, who is one of our top patrons. And if you'd like to be a patron, go to patreon.com/$2 late fee. Out of Gary, Wyatt, Ian, and Max, which one would you have personally chosen for yourself, Suzanne?
As the characters or as the people?
As you. As you, like who?
People?
Sorry. So, okay.
I would have chosen Bill.
You would have chosen Bill for you. Okay.
Not as Chet, but as Bill.
As Bill. Okay.
I love Bill. Bill and I were good friends for a long time. We never dated or anything like that. He had a love in England, Louise. He fell in love with her before he did Weird Science. And he was just kind of brokenhearted and worked really hard to bring Louise back to the States. And that was his wife till he passed. So Bill and I were good friends that way, right? We were just good buddies, and we were kind of like each other's dates for things because Louise was in England for a while. Yeah. So I would have chosen Bill, hands down. If I had to pick one of the boys.
The character. Yeah. Character-wise.
Vernon. No. Mad Max.
I love it.
Think for a minute. I probably would have chosen Michael.
Okay. Yeah. Anthony Michael Hall. So we had Robert Russler on our show previously, and it was very interesting because he was kind of at the point where he was about to give up acting entirely when he got that role. And so for him, it was this experience where, like, oh, not only is this like keeping me afloat in this profession that I'm pursuing, but also like this is going to take me to another stratosphere of my career. And then of course it led him to so many other things. So I thought that, so I think that sort of desperation that he was having prior to that really kind of informed that joy of when he got the part.
Right. Well, he was originally going to be with Craig Sheffer.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And Craig ended up dropping out, and then Robert came in, and those two together were just, Robert Downey's just ridiculous. He's so funny and so silly. And of course, like with Bill Paxton, John just really said, I love this, go with it, do it.
Wow.
And so, those two, and Robert Russler just kind of, really followed suit. And that was a time when, Robert and Michael kind of got a little out of control, right? Alon was younger, and Alon was still in school and being watched. And Bill had already been wild and saw what the boys were doing and made a different choice. So it was an interesting time in terms of, growing up, right? For the boys and what they chose to do with their time. Right. But I dearly love Robert Russler. He's a great human being. He's got great stories about growing up on movie lots with his dad being a Teamster.
Right.
And he's a great dad. He's a great friend and a great dad.
He's a great dad. Yeah. And it was
Does
nice
he write
to have
notes
him
for his son though?
I don't know, but he might. His daughter, Mary.
Okay. We'll figure that. We'll get to the bottom of that.
We'll give him a pass. Kevin Scott wants to know about the movie The Night Before. Obviously, it starred Keanu Reeves, and it was same director as the movie Night of the Comet. Any thoughts about the movie The Night Before that you did?
So, The Night Before with Keanu, that was when Keanu and Jill were dating.
Yes, that's right. Because it was right after Babes in Toyland.
Right. And so Keanu would come to the set. He was learning how to play the guitar at that
Okay.
point. So he would come to the set with his guitar all the time. And so we were like friends, but not friends, but we were close with the same person. And it was fun to do. I don't remember a lot about that movie, if you want to know the truth. It wasn't a memorable time for me in terms of being on set, other than knowing Keanu and knowing how close Jill and he were. I remember, several of my films, I ended up on the floor of the cutting room instead of on screen.
No.
In Night of the Creeps, I had
Right.
a lot more to say. In Fools Rush In, I had a lot more to say. In Killer Klowns, I had a long monologue about how I was terrified of clowns. Cutting room floor. So Night Before too, there were other things more important than my performance.
I guess so. Jeez. Now we know why The Night Before is not as popular as it should be, because if you had more in it, it would have been a bigger hit. Period.
So you were involved in what is arguably the greatest sitcom of all time, Seinfeld, and you had two different roles, but of course, you're most well known, I think, to most folks as Audrey, the the daughter of Poppy, and Self-Destruct 138.
His name is Huey Boyle, by the way. Huey Boyle.
Huey Boyle.
Poppy?
Huey Boyle would like to ask, why didn't you eat the pie?
Oh, so the pie. So, like a lot of the episodes with Seinfeld, Jerry would see something, like a moment, right? And they had a PA that just wouldn't eat something one day when they were all at lunch, and she did this really funny look. That was it. That was it. They wrote the whole episode about that look that just killed them. And so they'd hired a girl, and she couldn't do the look. And so they called me in because they figured I could do it. Yeah, I'm the only guest star to play two different characters ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
They said that my audition for the limo was the best audition they'd ever had. And so they brought me in, and they didn't make me audition. They just offered it to me, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It was really fun. Julia and I went to Northwestern together. She was a senior when I was a freshman. So she remembered me from me rushing me at Northwestern, which is kind of funny.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
That's cool. Yep.
Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, sorry. And that was a really fun show to do. Larry David was amazing also, of course, right? And Larry Charles was also amazing. Jerry and I had the same eye doctor, so we'd bump into each other at the eye doctor every once in a while. I remember being there once, and I had my Evian bottle with me, and he's like, "Why do all you girls carry those plastic water bottles around with you all the time?"
Oh, wow.
He was just always, being playful and having fun.
Yeah. Did he say it with the classic, at this point now, it's
Totally.
cliche, but why?
What's the deal with your water bottle?
Of course he did. Of course he did. So, and you know, I was really fortunate to be on the set with them. I would sit in the audience section and watch Michael Richards practice entering a room, because you know his entrances were always really different, right?
Right.
Yeah.
His career.
Yeah.
That was super cool to watch him do that. And my second time I was on the show, I had my son, Alexander, and I was a single mom. And Michael was a single dad. He raised his daughter. And I remember walking around the studio a lot with him, just talking about being single parents. He was a great single dad to his daughter. He's a really it was too bad what happened to him. He was really a kind, gentle, talented person. It's too bad that happened to him.
Yeah.
And Jason was super fun to hang out with too. I remember being I was fortunate. I got asked to the the rap parties, and they had one at the what was it, the LA the astronomy place, the LA
Griffith Observatory.
Observatory, sorry.
Oh.
And there was dancing, and it was really
Wow.
cool. I got to hang out with Jason a lot and meet his wife, and
Oh, that's cool.
met a couple of Jerry's girlfriends during the weeks that I was there. And
I love that.
At the same time, or just yeah.
no, different. And it is true, he loved cereal. All the food that was laid out, there were just boxes of cereal everywhere. And it was really fun to work with them. I mean, table reads were hysterically funny. Yeah, that was really fun. I when people ask me, well, if you could do anything right now, what would you do? And I was like, I would hands down be a regular on a sitcom, because it's like being in a play, but it's not a play. The hours are amazing, and you have an audience. It's so much fun.
Well, maybe Curb Your Enthusiasm will do another Seinfeld episode and bring back some of the more memorable characters from the series.
Well, I would like that. I used to see him more, he and his wife, because their daughter went to school with my son. They were looking at it, but no, I'm not around, so I don't get to see anybody that much.
Well, I know our mutual Dustin and I, our friend Corey Stevenson has a podcast called Cartwright, a Seinfeld podcast, and he was dying to ask that same question as well. So I'm sure he's appreciating all of the fun memories you shared.
Well, it was very fun because it was a very, very specific look that they wanted, that they thought was hysterical. And for whatever reason, this other girl couldn't give it to them. So they had to dye my hair a different color and do all these things so no one would know that it was me, because they'd never had two girls playing two separate guest stars before.
Wow.
And they had to show me what the look was. Right. So Jerry would do it and Larry would do it. It was very funny sitting in the diner watching them do it to see how they wanted me to do it.
Yeah. And we never learned why Audrey won't eat it. She just won't eat it.
I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I didn't want to do it.
You didn't want to do it. But he had seen you eating pie like at the diner or something, like by yourself, like, so yeah, so it's just like that specific. Yeah, it's so funny.
You can't make me do it.
Right.
I've got one more question on my end, and it is a specific 80s question. What's a fashion accessory from the 80s that you loved back in the day?
Just in my life or in one of the movies that I was in?
No, just in life, in your personal life. Yeah.
Well, I loved having the 3 earrings up my ear. I loved doing that, or like 3 on one side and 1 on the other.
Yeah.
Tons of bracelets. And, definitely got into that whole kind of like desperately seeking Susan look for a while.
Nice. Okay. Get into the groove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly, does that involve denim? A lot of denim, or no?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you wear your. Why are you laughing about that? Is there
No,
a
because I love the way Dustin asked that. He's like, does it involve denim? A lot of
I was
denim.
thinking denim, like denim how? What do you mean by
Well,
that?
you were saying like jackets and like, like denim jackets, patches, pins, the jacket that Zach probably has right there too, with a lot of pins. You probably have a denim jacket right over there.
All those pins that you used to wear, right? I'd have
Yeah.
a weird signs. I'd have all
Right.
the yeah. So you'd have those pins
Show her
on
your
there
denim jacket,
for
Zach. So
sure.
it's right. Is it not there?
My
Oh.
denim jacket, this is true. I was tripped one day at school by a bully and all my pins flew off my jacket.
What?
Not all of them.
I didn't know. I meant your jacket now. Wait, that's a
No.
terrible story.
That's, sorry. I always have some sort of
Always
trauma
have
from my
a new
jacket.
trauma. You always have a new story.
Aw.
Kids are cruel. The 80s, I think this is the one thing about the 80s that often gets overlooked is the level of bullying was pretty intense. And
So bad.
I mean, I recovered. I look back now and go, man, so glad I survived that.
Oh man, really?
I was bullied also. I remember. I still, God bless those people, put them in light, whatever
Right.
Buddha,
Right.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd still want to hang out with those guys.
Nope. I will say the kid that did that to me later got a job at Warehouse Records, and I brought in CDs to sell, and he gave me more money than I was supposed to get for the CDs. So I take that as an apology on his part.
Ooh.
Or he was just really bad at math.
Well, that too, but
Wait, what do you mean he gave you more money? Like,
because you can, you scan the barcode on the back of the CD. This is what
Yeah.
Warehouse Records, and they would give you a certain value for it. Sometimes they give you like a dime for a CD, and I paid $17 for this. And then you can always adjust it if on the screen if you want. And he adjusted it. And I got more money than I don't remember the exact amount, but I did get more money than I was.
but it wasn't. It was money for you. You mean?
Yeah, like you selling CDs.
Oh, I see. You were selling
Sorry.
CDs to your bully.
Selling CDs back to Warehouse Records, and
Right.
the bully was working there.
The
I
bully
walk
was
in
working there,
and
Oh,
I go,
that's terrible.
whoa! And I was in college at the time. I don't know if he was or not, but it was, I was feeling good about myself, and I was in my 20s, and
Yeah.
I survived school, and he's working at this job that he didn't seem very happy with. I'm just projecting, obviously. But
Hoping.
he
Yeah.
gave me, trying not to, let's be honest. But then, yeah, he gave me more. He adjusted the total, and I'm like, oh, thanks. Because yeah, it's good to see you. I'm like, oh, cool.
Oh, you
Bye.
got a good to see you.
Yeah.
Because
Huh.
you were kind to him, probably. Probably people aren't even nice to people that work there.
Sorry about your
Right.
pins.
Yeah. But a hello and how are you goes a long way in this world, and a genuine how are you. So if
Yeah.
someone says, well, I've been better, then I say like, well, it's better than bad, right? Or if someone says I'm not good, I'm like, why? Are you okay? Like I want to know. I don't want to just blow it off as a, hey, how's it going?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways.
Good. That's kind.
Anyways.
That's nice.
We
Better to
try.
Final question
Yes.
here. Sort of one that comes up a lot for own edification. Was there a time where you took a risk in an audition and it paid off that you can recall?
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah. So with Seinfeld, the first one that I did, the limo, we
The
had
best
to,
audition ever, you said.
well, that's what they
Yeah,
said.
yeah. Well,
Tooting
I'm
my
sure
own
it's true.
horn. I'm tooting my own horn a little bit.
No,
and
that's what you did.
I'm very comfortable with it. But I chose at that, well, there's another one too, actually. I chose to pretend that the limo was there and enter into the limo, which is like, they were sitting on a couch, right? It was
Right.
so I did that. And then I guess when I did this pilot with Buddy Ebsen, I chose to actually walk up and kiss the two producers and hug them on the cheek like they were my father and my grandfather. You don't
Oh.
really do that kind of stuff too much, so I did
Okay.
that.
So the
Just
producers were
now.
doing the read with you, or they were
Doing the read with me, and I
okay.
walked up and like, completed the scene with
Yes.
the actual
Yes.
gesture.
What was
Right.
the pilot called, by the way? What was the pilot for this? Because you've mentioned it twice now.
I don't remember.
Oh
Either
no! Okay.
Zach, you've seen it. It's fine.
No, I haven't.
Whatever it is you've seen.
I can look it up.
We don't even need to know what it was called. There's right, because there's no record. It didn't air.
It didn't air. If I look it up on IMDb or something, it would be there.
Well, Zach's already done that and he
It's
didn't
not.
find it. So
You said it was after. You said it was after the night before.
No, it was after Return.
It was after Return. Okay.
it was before the night before, but after the return of
Yeah,
after.
there's nothing listed there, but
Oh, so I have a mug with it. I'll look it up and I'll text it to
oh,
you.
you have a mug. Okay, yeah, please do.
Yep.
And we'll mention it on the show. And
We'll mention the mug on the show.
no, we'll mention we'll in the
Suzanne has a
intro,
mug.
in the intro to our show, we
We'll
will
mention this failed pilot that no one can see.
Yeah, I would.
Hey.
Or I mean, if we could see it, that would be great.
Look, Dustin, if Young Guy Christian starring Barry Bostwick is on YouTube, then I'm sure this
Pilot could be on. That's a good point.
You know who edited my reel with
Barry Bostwick? No.
Grant Heslov.
Okay.
Okay.
You know who he is?
Did he do Side Hustles? Was that a Side Hustle?
Like he's George Clooney's like producer.
Right. But was that like was
edit my reel?
So he was that did he have a real editing business at the time?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He did off of Cahuenga or Wilcox. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's so cool. And in those days, was it just like, did you have to just, how would it work? Because you'd have to get, could you get things from production that were actually high quality? Because you're not taping it up. You're like not giving somebody VHS copies, are you?
So oftentimes you actually could get it. You weren't getting it like off of the TV or something.
Right, right. Good. Yeah.
They would give you it. And then sometimes you'd have to return it. And other times you could keep the copy. And then I would bring all my stuff to Grant, and Grant would help me edit it. And the reason why I said that is because when I did that pilot, there was some, the introduction was really cool. They did it like an animated thing, but it was like drawings.
Okay.
And so I just remember Grant saying, we should use this because it's...
Oh, I love it.
That's so cool. But I mean, Dustin gives me shit for this sometimes, but what a time to be back in the day.
Is it real when you're saying it?
Yeah, this is real. This is real. Like, can seriously, like, nowadays, having your demo reel, it's just so easily accessible across the board. And back in the day, having to lug around a VHS cassette with you, or
you'd have multiple formats.
No, they were like this big.
No, because it wouldn't even be. It wasn't VHS, right? It would be like right. It would be like when you'd have a film reel transferred or something,
right?
They were huge.
Yeah. So many different formats would have to be transferred, or
So
it's
what
crazy.
a time. What a time.
Very, very different, right? Very, very different. I used to use a payphone.
Right.
Right.
Now we're antique.
Right. Your agent would call you on the phone. Like what? Yeah.
And leave a message on my voice machine.
Yeah.
It was an absolute pleasure to have you on our show.
Oh, it was really fun. You guys are lovely. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Really appreciate you.
My pleasure. I appreciate you.